welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL. And today we're going to cover this. This is my wall hanging that I created, and it turned out pretty darn cool. I think there's some room for improvements. If you mess with this a little bit and you come up with how to necessarily make it better, yeah, cool. It's it wasn't hard. It wasn't okay. The general principle, the whole idea of this was I wanted a wall hanging that I could, here in Singapore, art would, if you leave something on the wall, the moisture and everything else, it'll get dark and it will get kind of gross. And I was concerned about this. I want to be able to run it through a washing machine. So I don't want to have a stick in there. If I've seen people use chopsticks, dowels, rods, all kinds of various whatevers in their work to loop their stuff over. And as a result, they can't go into a washing machine. So I was trying to avoid that. So as you can see, I took all the strings. I forget. I think there's like 48 strings in this. It's ridiculous. The kumi on this thing is just fat. It might be 36. Compare it to this one. Yeah, it might be 36. I don't know. It's pretty big, and it's a ridiculous pattern. And yeah, it took quite a while. I had to actually take off stuff on the GIMP while I was making it to see where I was at any given point. And then when we went on holiday, I used Pocket Art, I think, on the tablet. And I can actually look that up just to make sure. Pocket Paint. Pocket Paint. So that was the app I used on the tablet to keep track and mark off where I was at any given point if you want to try to do this pattern. Anyways, back to this beginning thing. So as you can see, at the further out I go, the more I'm coming down. And so I'm essentially creating the flat part, and then it's coming out at an angle this way downwards. So that way I will do the same on the other side. And then I can bring the middle part in and then work out the part inside of that. That was my plan. The one thing that I might have done differently was I forced the loop to come together at just the middle point. I think what might have made this, because you can see, like if we call this the shoulders kind of droop down, and that was because it was such a hard fit to get into there. I think so. The pattern starts off very, very flat. If you're like using the graph paper, it was basically straight across. If I had added just a small diamond upwards in the middle part there, this part wouldn't have had to come together so hard. And I think that would have made all the difference to get these to come out nice and flat. So that's the part where if you have time, you want to try to mess with this. That's the part I would suggest making different. This, I'm just doing like the regular knots. But if you wanted to do this in an alpha, that would work as well. Oh, and you'll see. So I'm putting on like 2 reds and then 2 blues and then 2 reds and 2 blues. And when you put on the 2 strings and then you tie the knot and you go on and it kind of goes out in both directions, it keeps this part flat as opposed to regular bracelets where it comes down at the like a diamond shape. So something to keep track of. It's just that's how you do it. And you can see, like, as I go along, it keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner, just like a regular bracelet. At this point, I think you can see like the extra strings are kind of being held off to the side. I'm just using a clip on the side of the board. Just made it a little bit easier to get things kind of started, especially since the the pattern, again, I mean, can you see? It's ridiculous. This is probably one of the hardest ones I've done in a while. But I love it. I really do love it. I took this on vacation with us for something to mess with, and I was really happy to get it finished. And I'll have memories of Thailand when it comes to this thing. So yeah. And then I just brought all of them in and threw a big knot on the end. Is all. So yeah. But you'll see. I kind of work out the rest of it's it really was a challenge. I can't even express like how mental this whole thing was. Um, I had a ton more footage. I have cut this whole thing down to like 20 minutes or 18 minutes or something. I had a whole lot more footage of me working on this, but I realized that's not the story. That's not the part that anybody really is going to care about in the end. It's the how did I make it without a stick? So that's, you know, but I've given myself a lot of time to be able to talk about it because this has been done over the course of month and a half, like doing a little bit here and there. So I had probably forgotten some of the elements, and I kind of was hoping that watching this would remind me, like this, like putting it out so I could get the rest of this coming down at an angle. I clipped it sitting out straight, and that helped out a whole lot. Um, yeah, this would have been, I think, a whole lot different if I didn't try a very ambitious pattern. Very ambitious. And part of what made this really difficult, if you're interested in trying any of this kind of stuff yourself, part of what made this really difficult, I realize, is the fact that it's in two colors. If this had been something that was in more colors, you would be able to say, okay, the blue comes down until it hits the green and then it turns. There's just two colors. So there's a lot of counting how far it goes. There's a lot of not having a reference to know where you are or what's coming or any of that. And that is what made it so difficult. So, but it's also what makes it amazing, right? I mean, it's just red and blue, and the contrast is so intense, it makes it just really catch your eye. It's going to go up there somewhere. I haven't figured out quite where yet. I'm not sure. I'm probably going to, the tassel isn't really great yet. I haven't cut it down. I haven't figured out how long I want to do it. Some of the shortest ones are in here. Oh, it does not use strings evenly, by the way. So some of them were getting kind of short, and that's why I ended it where I did. Mind you, I kind of thought it was kind of long enough. Anyways, I wasn't. I debated many times as to how long was it going to be, and it just ended up where it did. Mind you, for this part here, right, I didn't need to go all the way out to the end to join the two sides together. I just kind of did. I don't know that I necessarily had a rhyme or reason to it. It just sort of made sense at the moment. So yeah, I could have switched to the other side way sooner. And there is we skipped a big spot, jumped to the other side. This is where it comes together. Again, if there had been if I had left 4 or 5 on either side to be a diamond and then went to the flat, it would, because you can see I'm like really trying to get in there and get these knots in and to get it to come to shape. And then I took it. Unfortunately, you don't get to see this very well. I didn't realize when I was recording it. But what I did was I have two clips now. So like this, one on either side, holding it out more. So that way, and like keeping adjusting it to try to get the shoulders to come out straighter. It's still, I mean, it's not terrible, right? But it's not perfect. And I know that there's a lot of you guys that are really perfectionists. And like I said, if I had just made it so that way there was a bit more of a diamond at the middle part, so that way these parts didn't have to be such a crushing whatever to get it together and then have to turn so hard. I think it would have made all of the difference in the world. But you can see there was a lot of twisting, a lot of adjusting, trying to get the knots to do the work of holding things in place. And that's kind of important too. Like if it is wrong, right, you want to try to get the knots. They might end up being a little looser, a little tighter, a little whatever it is to get to your shape. And that's true with regular bracelets, bags, whatever you're making, lanterns, the whole nine, whatever it is you're making. Your tension will make all the difference. And there are times where you can really work that to your advantage, where you forcibly make something bend to your will. So, yeah, if you're wondering why it's not how you want it, that's probably why. Um, I, I probably will make another wall hanging at some point. I don't know when. It really kind of depends on the input I get from the video here. If you guys are like, heck yeah, I need to see this other version, I don't understand, you know, um, or just the general input, like let me know if this is something that really interests you guys. I will do it. It's not a problem. Might not be as wide. It's really big. Well, I don't know. It might not. It might not be this complicated of a pattern. I might go with something with a rainbow. I don't know. You guys have ideas for what would be the not alpha, please. I don't enjoy alphas. They feel to me like they take extra long, and it drives me insane. So not an alpha, please. But if you have a pattern you think like, hey, this is really wide and really pretty, and it would make an awesome wall hanging and whatever, you know, let me know. It's completely or totally a possibility of something I would do. Um, and in case Amanda is watching this, no, I don't want to do the one where it's arrowheads that are going extra long and drawn out. And no, I don't like that pattern. I hate that pattern. I know I made cool stuff with it before. I don't like that pattern. Sorry, but I don't like that pattern. Um, did I make that clear? Just in case. I don't like that pattern. Um, what else can I tell you? Oh, once it kind of gets going, it's fine. It balances out, and it was fine after the initial start. There was no additional problems. There was no anything to have to worry about. It is machine washable. I've already proven that. Um, when I brought the ends in kind of the same way I do with my bracelets, where each strand goes over all that were before it until you get to the ends. So I did that on both sides, and then I just brought it around and pulled it into a big knot. But then I had to go through and take each sets of strings and give it a tug and go through all of them in order to pull the knot in nice and clean looking, because when you just do, if you don't do that, there's some stragglers that are kind of loose and not as nice. It did sort of pinch the materials down here at the bottom, but I'd rather have that than to have this knot kind of sloppy and not nice. You don't have to have a kumi to do this. If you did the macrame version, it would still be the same thing. You would still do your little diamond, you know. It's going to be like kind of half of a diamond, right? Because you're only doing the first little bit and then going out to the flat. And that way, again, you're just not cranking this corner, because there's like 36 strings trying to bend all of a sudden at once, and that's the part that it suffered from. So, but yeah, like it's like a macrame thing where you do the square knots over the top of the whole rest of the bundle. You could do that with this, and it would be fine, and you would end up with a nice something to hang it from. If, let's say, you were going really wide, let's say you want to do a portrait, right? Like picture of you and your friend kind of thing. I've seen this done with alphas. That's why it comes to my mind. So you want to go really wide. I probably wouldn't do it with one loop. I would probably do it with two. All right. You can still hang it from that. You could put a string to go between the two to hang it from that, however you want to. But I would maybe do it with two loops. And then just like when you join two bracelets or whatever together, you just bring these two sides. Like, remember how I had it kind of coming down at an angle? Have both of them like that, and then just join them, and that would be fine. It would turn out great. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully I'm inspiring you guys. That's what my biggest goal here is, to inspire you and have you trying something new and different and fun and pretty, and you know, that's my goal. But yeah, you could totally do that. You could turn this into a bag if you did 3, 4 of these, right? And joined them just like I just said, and make it come all the way around. These could be the loops that your strap and stuff hang off of. So if you were looking for a bag that had a more block-ish top, this would be a great way of doing that. So, and I just came up with that idea off the top of my head. I was looking at this and like, ooh, that that might be a future project, guys. That could be a thing. But yeah, I like the whole concept. I think there's really something to be had here. And I really hope the whole community will kind of look at this and think, yeah, I want to do that. So, and if you do, tag me. Let me see what you guys are coming up with. I'm really interested in seeing what everybody else is making. And especially if I've inspired you, that really makes my day. It's basically the biggest driving force in everything that I do. So, you know, I really do appreciate it. All right, the end is coming up soon. Let me just thank my Patreon supporters as well as my YouTube members for making all this stuff possible. I really can't do it without their help. So thank you very much to you guys. And yeah, there it is. That's a picture I took in Thailand. So there you go. All right, guys. As always, don't get your strings in a bunch.